Hello, and welcome back to This Month on the Railroad, my monthly series covering each month's railroad-related news from around North America. Let's get right into it. On November 2nd, the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania's Norfolk and Western 475 collided head-on with the maintenance of way crane, impaling its front end and damaging the smoke box. After causing quite a bit of ruckus in the railfan community, 475 was ferried back to the Strasbourg shops, where it was repaired in just 4 days. As of right now, the century-old steamer has been returned to service, now with a repaired front end. A few days later, on the 7th, pictures surfaced of an NS AC44C6M with a different cab from most units. This AC44 was later revealed to be one of two for use on company maintenance of way trains. Dash 9s number 9553 and 9623 will soon enter service on Norfolk Southern with similar square cabs to those of Union Pacific's MOW fleet. In other NS AC44C6M news, various different EMD locomotives were renumbered from the 4000 series to the 6000 series, making way for future AC44 numbers. 2 days later, on the 9th, Wabtec, Argonne, and Oak Ridge announced a joint project to develop an experimental hydrogen fuel cell locomotive to expand Wabtec's fleet of zero-emissions freight locomotives. This monolith-shaped locomotive appears to be an FLX drive battery electric engine that was dropped off a cliff and converted to a fuel cell locomotive. Hopefully, if this thing ever makes it to the railroad, it won't look so not like a locomotive. Anyways, in other unfortunate news, after spending a few months in the shop, Amtrak ACS44 number 662, the former Phase 3 Heritage unit, returned to service, now in a regular Phase 5 paint scheme. In my opinion, 662 was the best unwrapped ACS64 to date, so it'll most definitely be missed. 4 days later, right after the 662 was unwrapped, we lost another one with 606's King Tut wrap being removed. In less than a week, we went from 3 special ACS64s to just one. Hopefully, though, we'll get another wrap for the holidays, as that's when they tend to be done. Anyways, while all of this was happening, rail fans out west were in a frenzy as Union Pacific was moving a string of vintage equipment from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Illinois. Included in this consist were 2 steam locomotives, 1 Centennial DDA 40X diesel, and a few more interesting pieces of equipment. Speaking of vintage railroad equipment, around the same time, I got an exclusive update on the Amtrak HHP-8 cab car conversion program. Unlike what I said in the previous episode of This Month on the Railroad, the HHP-8 cab cars will not replace Metroliner cab cars, rather supplementing them until Siemens intercity train sets are delivered beginning in 2024. A total of 13 units will be converted to NPCUs while being deployed on all routes that use a cab car in the Northeast. On the 15th, the Washington Metro opened its new Silver Line extension with a new line to Ashburn, Virginia. The Silver Line extension not only provides Metro service to various different communities in Virginia, but also the long-awaited Metro connection to Dulles Airport. Finally, the 3 major airports of the DMV are connected by rail. A few days later, on the 18th, Atlanta's MARTA donated an original rail car from 1981 to the Southeastern Railway Museum. This vintage car was put on a trailer and moved 20 miles over the road from Decatur, Georgia to the museum in Duluth. 2 days later, on the 20th, a second Metra SD70 MACH, numbered 502, was spotted making its way to Chicago. Unlike the previous SD70, which wore the RTA Heritage paint, 502 wears a new variation of Metra's conventional paint scheme, which will presumably be worn by the remaining engines in this order. While from an operational standpoint, I think that rebuilding freight locomotives for passenger service is pretty questionable, from a rail fanning standpoint, I think the SD70 MACHs are pretty cool. The next day, Norfolk Southern announced its buyout of the state-owned Cincinnati Southern Railway between Cincinnati and Chattanooga. This $1.6 billion deal is subject to approval from the Surface Transportation Board, but NS hopes that this deal will do away with the need to lease this line from state governments, ensuring consistent freight service for years to come. On the same day, an undisclosed deal was reached between freight railroads and Amtrak in the Gulf Coast, resulting in a vague yet exciting announcement that Amtrak service will return to this region. Of course, in the coming months, more information will most likely come out on this project, as it's been years in the making, but as of right now, what we do know is that at some point, Amtrak will return to the Gulf Coast with the route connecting New Orleans and Mobile, Alabama. Anyways, that's all of my news, but once again, we've got ourselves a special guest. Joining us now is North Country Trains with an exclusive update from Vermont.
Hello everyone, Harrison here from North Country Trains. I've just received some exciting news I'd like to share regarding the return of Amtrak's Adirondack. A major issue on many people's minds is the return of Amtrak's Adirondack service to northern New York and Montreal. No date is currently set in stone, but local news NBC5 has reported a spring 2023 return of the Adirondack. State Senator Dan Steck was quoted saying the certification of crews into Canada was the primary obstacle to resuming service. I can assure you that Amtrak crews continue to remain and be qualified to run the Adirondack all the way to Montreal. Working with CP and the less cooperative CN, Amtrak has been able to run what CP calls FAM trips, ensuring a smooth resumption in service during the spring of 2023. The crews and equipment are ready, and the primary host railroad, Canadian Pacific, is continuing to do a fantastic job keeping track speed to their prior standards. What's preventing a sooner startup of the Adirondack? My guesses are lack of station attendants, shortage of overall New York State train crews for Amtrak, and continuing permanent slow orders on Canadian host, Canadian National. Thanks to continuing support from politicians and residents, the Adirondack's return will likely be a triumphant success. I've received countless emails, comments, and remarks from locals and visitors alike expressing their need for the Adirondack. And 3 years after the critical service was cut, I think it's time for us to work together to make a comeback for Amtrak's Adirondack. Across the lake in Vermont, Amtrak's Ethan Allen has made a strong start. VTrans and Amtrak have announced that initial ridership is above prediction, with Vermonter ridership only minimally down. Although currently operating with a P32 ACDM at both ends of the train, operations will soon shift to using a non-powered control unit north of Rutland. Vermont Rail System, the current branding for a collection of Vermont short lines, has continued to grow in popularity with rail fans across the East. The railroad's once diverse-looking fleet of GP38-2 locomotives are now sporting a unified red paint scheme in VRS lettering. The repaints include units 201, 202, and 206 through 210. Along with 6 GMTX units being purchased by the railroad, the remainder of the all-EMD fleet will slowly turn up in matching paint over the coming years. Currently, operational highlights on the VRS include seasonal salt traffic requiring extras over the scenic Green Mountain subdivision, 40-mile-per-hour running on the upgraded Northern sub, and unique GP18 number 801 working on the New York and Ogdensburg. Feel free to check out my numerous videos from the region, and thanks for watching This Month on the Railroad by WorldwideRailfan.
Once again, big thanks to North Country Trains for this update. Be sure to check out his channel in addition to his most recent video for more information. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in another video.